Three significant water conservation projects in China began construction on Saturday as part of a national initiative to invest more than 800 billion yuan, or that's $119.6 billion, in the industry this fiscal year, which has already seen the inauguration of 18 significant water projects. Welcome back to our channel. We're back again with another new video today. The nation's finance minister announced that further pro-growth policies are being explored, while a tabloid connected to the cabinet urged banks to increase lending for infrastructure projects as Beijing stepped up its appeals to revive China's COVID-devastated economy. According to a report by the Xinhua news agency, Finance Minister Liu Kun stated during a meeting of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress on Tuesday that the government would continue to speed up fiscal spending, as well as the sale of special local government bonds. Infrastructure investments are typically financed by special local bonds. According to China Media Group, the most recent projects include river management in East China's Annui province, reservoir development of Hunan province, and floodgate rehabilitation in the lower sections of the Yellow River (CMG). We use historical literature and quantitative time series data of environmental changes in the river basin to assess the lower Yellow River's 4,000-year flood history and the history of agricultural development in the Middle River. Positive feedback loops, natural process critical thresholds, and sudden transformations brought on by socio-economic forces are characteristics of flood dynamics. The main drivers behind the history of the floods were technological and organizational advances. A positive feedback loop on levee breaches began in the 4th century BC with the popularization of iron plows and the lower river embankment. Farming in places that produced coarse sediment, steep hill slope cultivation, and a new river management paradigm all contributed to the feedback loop's strength, which ultimately caused the flood frequency to reach its peak in the 17th century. In particular, farming and soil erosion in the Middle River and central government and river control in the Lower River show outstanding co-evolution of river dynamics and Chinese society. China's mother river, the Yellow River, provides food for a civilization that dates back 4,000 years. The river has shown itself to be furious throughout the last 2 millennia. Massive volumes of silt produced by thousands of gullies downstream are carried away by flash floods, creating levees that frequently fail and severely damage communities, cities, and their inhabitants. At the core of the Yellow River flooding has been Kaifeng, which is at the top of the Yellow Alluvial Fan. The city has been damaged by 7 floods since the 4th century BC. Every time there was a flood, the survivors rebuilt a new city there. 6 Kaifeng cities are now covered in silt, with the oldest fossil city buried 10 meters beneath the surface. More than 1,000 floods were recorded in historical records during a period of 4,000 years. The river has changed its lower course approximately every 25 years over the past millennium, breaches its levees once a year, and as often as 3 times annually on average during the middle of the 17th century. The width of the levee breaches has been exacerbated by the super elevation of its channel bed, making levee repair a difficult and expensive task. The Zheng levee breach in 1887 was 1,650 meters wide, and its closure cost 12 million taels, or almost 15% of the country's yearly income at the time. Here, we examine textual historical reports to portray the flood history of the Lower Yellow and the history of agricultural growth in the Middle River. Using quantitative time series data of environmental changes in the river basin, we investigate the factors that influence the frequency of floods. We look at how the Yellow River flooding affected Chinese culture during the imperial era and how, in turn, frequent flood events in the latter imperial period were impacted by human factors. 37 floodgates in 11 cities from East China's Shandong province to Central China's Henan province are a part of the 2.07 billion yuan floodgate reconstruction project in the lower sections of the Yellow River. It will boost the water supply assurance rate of the Yellow River irrigation districts in China's major grain-producing regions, and construction is expected to take 36 months. The price tag for the Hunan Reservoir project is 5.11 billion yuan. According to CMG, which cited a representative from the local Water Conservancy Bureau, it will considerably increase the area's capacity to regulate flooding and offer 285,000 tons of high-quality water per day for Jishou City's urban area and the neighboring districts of Hunan. The Dak Singh Zai Reservoir project in Hunan officially began construction on June 25, 2022. The project is said to be one of the 150 big water conservation projects that the State Council has deployed and is now implementing, as well as one of the 55 significant water conservation projects that will be pushed in 2022. The Dak Singh Zai Reservoir project primarily focuses on the role of flood control, integrates irrigation and water delivery, and considers ecological water replenishment. The project's dam crest's maximum height is 68.5 meters, its greatest width is 10 meters, and its maximum length is 287.5 meters. The reservoir has a total storage capacity of 113 million cubic meters, a typical storage level of 310 meters, and an average daily water supply of 285,000 cubic meters. The 24,700 MU irrigation design area has an annual irrigation water volume of 8.11 million cubic meters on average. The project will cost 5.114 billion yuan in total, and it'll take 36 months to complete. After the Dak Singh Zai Reservoir project in Hunan province is finished, Jishou City, the prefecture of the Xingxi prefecture, will have a significantly improved ability to regulate urban flooding, ensure the security of its water supply, and increase irrigation conditions for its agricultural sector. The Tongyi River Basin's ecological environment will be improved, rural rehabilitation and superior economic and social development in ethnic communities will be encouraged, and tourism resources will be further enriched. The 2.56 billion yuan river management project in Annui entails work on dredging waterways, constructing floodgates, and upgrading embankments. It would increase the security of 1.5 million people and 2.88 million MU, that's 192,000 hectares of agriculture, in terms of water conservation. The Annui Shaying River Channel Improvement Project for China's growth aims to increase freight throughput on the Shaying River in the province of Annui by strengthening infrastructure and capacity. The project consists of 4 parts. Infrastructure and facilities for navigation make up the project's first part. This component consists of dredging and channelization of rivers, strengthening and protecting riverbanks, and the provision of services and aids to navigation. Rebuilding and moving current infrastructure and facilities is the project's second element. This component entails relocating other existing cross-river facilities that obstruct navigation, as well as reconstructing and strengthening existing cross-river bridges that have inadequate clearance. The installation of canal transport management systems is the project's third element. The 2 technical studies under Component 4 will establish the management systems, therefore this component also comprises the provision and installation of the machinery and equipment required for their development. Technical help makes up the project's 4th element. Technical studies and training initiatives are part of this component, which aims to strengthen the institutional capabilities of the inland waterway transport (IWT) industry to support long-term IWT development in Annui province. The Xinan River Basin, which contains Huangshan City, is the primary supply of drinking water for the 10 million residents of Zhejiang province who live downstream. The environmental and ecological strain has increased throughout the Xinan River Basin as a result of economic development, urbanization, agricultural activities, and the growth of tourism in the Huangshan region. For the Annui Huangshan Xinan River Ecological Protection and Green Development Project, CDIA supported ADB's Transaction Technical Assistance (TRTA) by launching a PPS that will introduce cutting-edge technologies and global best practices to support project design and feasibility studies. The PPS's final outputs comprised knowledge projects with project-specific components that might serve as guides for additional project design while it is being put into practice. Watershed quality management, urban first flush runoff, adaptation to climate change, information and communication technology use, and environmental monitoring and emergency response systems were the 5 project components that received CDIA's support. Through the upgrading of urban point source pollution management facilities, improving rural point and non-point source pollution control facilities, and strengthening local capacity for ecological system and project management, the project is expected to improve the economic and environmental conditions in the upstream of the Xinan River. This year, China has accelerated its water-saving initiatives. Investments totaled 107.7 billion yuan in the first quarter, up 35% over the same period last year. According to information from China's Ministry of Water Resources, investments totaled 310.8 billion yuan in the first 5 months, up 54% over the same period last year, MWR. The funding this year is more concentrated than in the past years on rural areas and initiatives that affect people's means of subsistence. According to the MWR, the top 3 project categories with increasing investment are those involving rural water delivery, significant water conservation, and comprehensive river management and ecological restoration. For instance, the Gansu province in northwest China plans to start 74 rural water supply projects. 9.32 million rural residents now have better access to water thanks to 29.3 billion yuan in investments made in rural water supply projects from January to May of this year. According to MWR data, 84.47% of rural areas now have access to tap water, and 52.8% of rural residents are currently served by large-scale water delivery projects. Water conservation initiatives have become more crucial in the effort to cut carbon emissions. The Sewalong hydropower station, the first hydropower station in Shaying autonomous region of southwest China, with a 1 million kilowatt capacity, began providing households with clean electricity on Friday. It can replace roughly 5.4 billion kilowatt hours of thermal electricity yearly with its installed capacity of 1.2 million kilowatts. We hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please smash that like and subscribe button if you enjoy our content, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you get notified every time we upload a new video on interesting and informative topics.